I imagine the thrift shopping here goes extremely hard, and I need that.
Yeah, it's always those like small town little streets with all those interesting shops. That's just hanging out there. That's forget castles and dragons. This is the real fantasy.
What is up, gamers and slice of life fans, and welcome to Game Gems, the show where we go hands-on with the latest cool, small, hidden gem video games and give you our initial impressions. Today we're checking out Afterlove EP, the emotional visual novel from Pikselnesia. I am Christian Macias, and joining me for the first time, video production manager Sam Hallahan. Sam, are you ready to be melancholy and explore Jakarta?
I am always ready to be melancholy.
Isn't that the truth? You ever watch her play a melancholy song? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Have you not seen Spike Jonze as her?
I don't think so.
Play a melancholy song.
When you know you're gonna die, it isn't easy.
Play a different melancholy song.
I'm gonna give you some homework. Watch that movie.
Okay.
But this isn't a movie show. This is a game show. Sam, do you know anything about Afterlove EP?
I actually don't. I don't think I do. I've not heard of it, or maybe I've heard of it from one of the events with a ton of indie games, but no, nothing about this one.
First and foremost, this is, of course, a game made by Fahmi Mohammed, rest in peace, who just recently passed away a couple of years ago from an asthma attack. He was very young. He is, of course, the creator of Coffee Talk, What Comes After, and, of course, Afterlove EP. So this is the first game released post Fahmi, if you will. The story premise is you're Rama. You're the front man of a band called Sigmund Feud. You've got some gigs coming up, and more importantly, the release of your first major EP to right around the corner. That is, of course, until tragedy strikes. Your girlfriend, Sinta, sadly passes away, and the game picks up 1 year later as you try to move on and pick up the pieces of your life from where you left off. So that's the premise of the game, and we got the first couple of minutes here where you're getting kind of the picture of what your life was before. And of course, the major thing to note here is the art style is super unique, vivid, but I'd say pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of the time the visual novel sort of games, the most common sort of stylized graphics is like, anime or Japanese themed. But I know with Coffee Talk as well, that was like a really distinct, beautiful game. And this looks, again, like distinct in a completely different way. It looks really unique, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play Coffee Talk, but I've seen plenty of clips from it just over the years through like osmosis and just keeping up with game stuff. I know it's like a kind of like one of the big indie darlings. I will say after a couple of hours with the game, this feels very much like an indie darling for a specific kind of people. Like obviously visual novels, you're getting kind of niche already, but you can kind of tell this is made for a specific kind of people who enjoy this kind of game, less gamey kind of stuff, but more subdued kind of storytelling. That isn't to say there isn't entirely gamey stuff. You do get like the odd dialogue option, and there is some rhythm sections to this game as well, which we're gonna get a clip from I think right now. But for the most part, much of the game is just watching these sequences, reading and responding to whoever it is you're talking to.
Okay, yeah, no, I like the mix of little things. The style as well. It's kind of especially after you say like rhythm stuff. It's what's the quite a stylistic game? Is it The World Ends With You?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of kind of that in this.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I almost thought like a Scott Pilgrim-esque kind of vibe. Of course, like the comic,
Yeah, definitely. After the anime show on Netflix as well, it's very much in that sort of vein, especially with the music, the whole band theme, definitely.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I brought up melancholy so much, not just because of the themes of the game, but also the riffs you play are I almost will go so far as to say they remind me a little bit of like Midwest emo kind of. If you're familiar at all with that kind of subgenre, what is it, like a modern baseball or no American baseball, modern baseball, the Wonder Years, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if you're familiar.
Vaguely, yeah, but yeah, I think this works quite well with this sort of game. The rhythm thing's always thrown in; it adds a little bit of variation. It's you ever play Night in the Woods? That has a similar sort of thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been a minute since I played it. But good pull there. I will say one note here as things start to take a turn emotionally for Rama. This is still the kind of the intro section of the game.
Mm-hmm.
One kind of editorial note, subjective note for me is that we're hot off last week's Game Gems, which was Rift of the Necrodancer, which is like very much kind of the same rhythm action game, part visual novel as well. But the bulk of that game is that rhythm section, whereas here's the inverse. The bulk of the game is the visual novel, which means that the music sections aren't really all that difficult. They're just easy enough, and the game defaults you to normal. But if you're looking for a harder challenge, you may not be challenged here so much. But I will say that if you find it difficult, you can knock it down to easy or even to automatic, so you wouldn't even have to press any buttons at all if you so wish.
Oh, that's quite handy, yeah. So not only you're not going to get Guitar Hero out of it, but you can just cut it out completely if that's not something you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a clip from the game. This is now 1 year later, 2017 actually, specifically 2017 Jakarta. And I mean, this is like kind of the slice of life moment that you're going to get in pretty much like your entire playtime is, you got a buddy, your bandmate Adit is texting you, and you can choose a small thing of how to respond. Maybe not all of them are, super impactful responses. Like they don't have it's not like A or B, and it affects the kind of course of the game. There's kind of small things to color in your character and how you respond to people. And
yeah, it's
one
a
thing
similar sort of thing with the
please.
sorry, with the phone conversations you have on like Persona 5 and stuff like that, where you get little choices. It's a good way to sort of do that people kind of dialogue as and when.
Dude, one thing I want to mention, just like walking around, because you can walk around sort of these different neighborhoods, and you see like NPCs walking around as well. You can stop to talk to people here and there. Everyone is dressed so freaking cool. Like I want to bite the ankles of so much of everyone's style here. Like I like even Rama's just like main like jacket hoodie thing he's got, this like over what would you call this, pullover sort of jacket, windbreaker. I need this.
Yeah.
I need it bad in my wardrobe.
Need to go live in this town and just become cool. That's what we need to do now.
Which is like, this is like what all the characters do. They just like hang out in record shops and bars and coffee shops. I imagine the thrift shopping here goes extremely hard, and I need that.
Yeah, it's always those like small town little streets with all those interesting shops. That's just hanging out there. That's forget castles and dragons. This is the real fantasy.
I mean, is it not a walkable city? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's perfect for the setting.
And her many jobs.
Perfect. So you may have noticed right now, there's a voice that pops in from time to time. You'll hear that routinely. I put a few clips of that. If you're wondering who that is, the twist of this game is, well, I know it's a year later, but Rama has not moved on from Sinta's death, and so Rama walks around through his day-to-day life with her voice in his head, and it's beginning to impact his relationship, specifically his band. For context, we're trying to get the band back together. You just dropped off the face of the earth after Sinta died. Tasya, your bassist, feels very much slighted after you just dropped everything, and Rama feels like he was entitled to grieve for kind of as long as he needed with no explanation. So there's friction, and the event of the game is, well, you've got a show coming up at the end of the month. You want to finish this EP, but you also haven't been talking to these people for basically a whole year, and that's causing a lot of relationship tension, and it's your job to get over that and sort of ease that tension as you go. And I will say, Sam, they do a really good job of making the main character extremely unlikable. It's done so well. Like the responses, like you're choosing between the least worst option to respond to people often.
Oh, great. So you're role-playing as someone who's disappeared for a year, and you got to continue role-playing as someone who's still maybe not the best, but, you know, try.
And here's the thing. The game has like a really good balance of like, it makes you understand like he was going through some shit, a very tough time, but also it kind of also is an excuse to be a dick to people who also like, you know, felt the loss in their own different ways. And so the game tries to get you to understand that and tries to get Rama to kind of come to grips with that. It's pretty interesting, kind of brave to make I think to make the main character so, in my opinion, kind of unlikable in the first, you know, opening hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of games, if they tackle grief, a lot of it will focus on the actual matter, the actual situation, but the majority of grief is the aftermath. So this feels like it's kind of diving into much later how people are coming back from it, and tackling it in an interesting way where it's like people don't always handle it very well, and that's okay, but it's kind of important to recognize.
I'm glad you said that because, Sam, I'm kind of bearing the lead here a little bit. I did this already with the, you know, the Cinta's voice, but it goes further than that. The game is actually also about going to therapy to kind of come to grips with your grief. And if I'm going to be honest, there's these therapy sessions here with Maria. You're going to get a little clip from it. And they're actually pretty poignant. Like, you really unpack how Rama is feeling, and they give advice that I think is, one, beneficial to him to make him understand how his actions are affecting other people around him. But like the advice is good enough that like I can learn stuff from this as well about how I maneuver social dynamics. It's kind of crazy. I can't give it its flowers enough there.
That's the best way when you're trying to do something that's like got some sort of message to it, that if it's actually delivering that message to you as a player directly, then it's doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Sam, thoughts so far on Afterlove EP?
I quite like the style and the fact that you are able to have that like walk around, because in a lot of these kind of visual based games you don't always have too much freedom, and there's a balance with like how much control you have, but I really like the idea of it being a little bit open, so you get a feeling of the life and not just the plot points.
I'm actually glad you brought up Persona a little bit earlier too. The game does operate on some like, you know, you have a morning cycle, a kind of afternoon cycle, and then like a night cycle. And so it's often you get like kind of the freedom, like, okay, here's your objective, but you can kind of walk around town and go to other places and talk to other NPCs before you go do the main objective. It's maybe not as deep as like an actual Persona where you like, you know, can really do whatever you want and that'll progress time, but you do get a little bit of freedom beyond kind of just a kind of a strict visual novel.
Yeah, I think that's good though. It's a good step for these sort of games to kind of evolve themselves, but also give people more options. Like again, I'm mentioning Night in the Woods. That's a very kind of similar take, because that game is mostly visual. You know, it's not combat or action or anything like that. A little bit of platforming and back and forth with the town, and you kind of have some choice into all of the little bits you want to see, which are just entirely optional. And this going for that sort of thing, and especially with the kind of Persona correlations and then the unique art style, I think it stands out quite a lot.
Absolutely. Sam, that was Afterlove EP. This game is releasing at this point when this video drops tomorrow, Valentine's Day. What better way to spend your Valentine's Day than by grieving the death of an ex-girlfriend? Am I right, fellas? And it's dropping on PlayStation 5 for the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So just about everywhere you kind of have a screen that's not an iPhone or an Ouya.
Wherever you want to be, you can be melancholic.
And boy, let me tell you, Sam, I am. That is me. I am very much melancholic all the time, but melancholic happy. And
Yeah, you gotta balance it.
Absolutely. That's this week's Game Gems. Hashtag TGGG. Let us know what you think of Afterlove EP down below. You can check out our full review of Afterlove on our website. For more on all things melancholic visual novel, make sure you stick with the gamer.